Welcome to this space, this sanctuary of peace where we come to not only create our best selves, but to also do the work of creating a beloved community. We come together today as individuals, much like individual pieces of glass or pottery that are different shapes, sizes, and colors, all of which are broken, with imperfect, jagged edges, but always beautiful. While our pieces may not always fit neatly together, it is within this sanctuary, guided by our principles, that we gather together to create a beautiful mosaic. May the brokenness and beauty you find in one another create peace in this space and fill our hearts with love as we create worship together.
Return again, return again, return to the home of your soul. Return again, return again, return to the home of your soul. Return to who you are, return to what you are, return to where you are, born and reborn again. Return to who you are, return to what you are, return to where you are, born and reborn again. All together. Return again, return again, return to the home of your soul. Repeat that. Return again, return again, return to the home of your soul. Return to who you are, return to what you are, return to where you are, born and reborn again. Return to who you are, return to what you are, return to where you are, born and reborn again. Return again, return again, return to the home of your soul. Return again, return again, return to the home of your soul. Return to where you are, return to where you are, return to where you are, born and reborn again. Return to where you are, return to where you are, return to the home of your soul and reborn again. Return to where you are, return to where you are, return to where you are, soul and reborn again. Return to where you are, return to where you are, return to the way you are, soul and reborn again. Return again, return again, return to the home of your soul. One more time. Return again, return again, return to the home of your soul.
We light this chalice in honor of the memories that hold and heal us, for stories we tell of those of whose heroism inspires our own, for the pictures of loved ones who have passed in whose images we see our better selves, for the work of remembering that we stand on the shoulders of others who paved the path on which we walk and blessed us with advantages we didn't earn all on our own. May these memories of those who came before inspire us to pass on a better world to those who will come after us. May their light guide our way. We invite Nellie Javadoff to kindle our chalice this morning. Please join me in saying our chalice lighting words in your order of service. We
light this chalice for the warmth of love, for the light of truth, and for the energy of action.
Thank you, Nellie.
Good morning.
Good morning.
I feel so blessed to be here in this beautiful, crisp October morning. It's been a while since I've been in a UU church. 5 years ago, in the spring, my husband and I were hand-fasted in the Watertown UU church in upstate New York. So it is a pleasure to be with you all today. And I'm happy to share with you my personal favorite of our pagan holy days. Though Samhain is often regarded as one of the lesser holidays, it is my personal favorite. And it is by far the most popular of the witches' holidays in our day and age. So just a brief history. This holiday is recorded to have been first practiced in the Iron Age nearly 3,000 years ago. The word Samhain is Old Irish for the end of summer, and is truly spelled absolutely nothing like it sounds. The traditional origins of this holiday are somewhat frightening, all surrounding the surviving the night of the final harvest. This day was supposed to fall on the exact halfway point between the equinox in the fall and the solstice in the winter. Today, this day is now somewhat closer to November 7th than our October 31st, but it was often celebrated for at least a whole week, and sometimes for the entire month of October. People would carve turnip-o'-lanterns, a far cry from our Native American jack-o'-lanterns, and carry them from local bonfires to their home to protect them from the trickery of the eshi, or gentry, a particularly mischievous and malicious band of fairies. These fires were believed to summon the protection of deceased loved ones and to guide those who were lost in the darkness to their home, where the embers carried in these lamps would be used to start the hearth fire of the home. They also dressed up their children to protect them from these mischievous sprites, from being led astray into this world, from this world into the next. Again, these holy fires were held in town squares, and candlelight vigils were then placed in the westward-facing windows to correspond to the setting sun and the night soon to follow. The matron of these havoc-wreaking spirits was the Morrigan, a fearsome goddess of the honored dead, mistress of witches, and a warrior within her own right. She too was given offerings at this time by people in return for protection. As the seasons turned and prosperity of the land faded, everybody drew the spirits of their beloved close, as the land mimicked the death of the body of the land. Later, Samhain was appropriated by the invading Catholics into All Hallows Eve, which was then turned into a holiday to honor all lesser saints who within their pantheon did not have specific holidays or honorifics. In America, these practices were all forbidden for centuries, being a very Protestant country at the time, until reclaimed into the secular Halloween starting in the 1840s, with Scottish and Irish immigrants escaping the Great Potato Famine. In the past 200 years, the secular holiday has become the trick-or-treating festival that we all know and love, complete with its own urban lore, mythology, and our own modern culture. Though this holiday never fully died out in Ireland, protests to colonization persisted through the ages. Even in the larger cities such as Dublin and Shannon, holy Samhain fires could be seen burning in townships far into the Irish countryside. But what does Samhain really mean? Beyond its trappings, Samhain was all about honoring the dead, the process of dying, harvesting the memories of our loved ones, and in our homes. What can it mean for us today? While connection to personal ancestors is usually the foremost mentioned, but often we forget about the rest of our beloved dead. What about those among us who have been separated from our ancestral lines by either tragedy, personal choices, slavery, or otherwise? And in honoring the spirits of the land, we often find ourselves as descendants of immigrants who have been displaced from our homes abroad. We also find ourselves descendants of those who have displaced the natives of our land. Very few of us have connections to these stories here in Utah and to her indigenous people, so it can be difficult for us sometimes to honor these spirits. As an example, I offered my mother's story. Some years ago, we ran a line back 7 generations before it stopped. She always wanted to know where her family came from. And we were led to a tiny little town northeast of Warsaw. Though her family was able to escape the countryside before the onslaught of the political change that came on in the mid-1900s, they could not have foreseen what would have happened to their beloved family records. We believe that they were destroyed, unfortunately, in a fire that burned down their local synagogue, leading up to the Warsaw Ghetto Revolt and all that followed. So what do we do? Well, for those women who are severed from family by the pursuit of your own personal freedom, I suggest that we honor women such as Susan B. Anthony and Ida Jones, who fought for our right to vote within this country. For those who are in the LGBTQ+ community, who were severed from family for being who they are, I would suggest wonderful people such as Harvey Milk and Marsha P. Johnson, who were your ancestors in pioneering your rights. For men severed from family because you are refusing to propagate the toxic models of your forefathers, I would suggest Mahatma Gandhi or Martin Luther King Jr., who are your predecessors in pioneering peace and progress. And for those cut off from ancestral lines in the pursuit of your own religious choices and freedoms, I would suggest women such as Sojourner Truth and men such as Roger Williams, whose groundbreaking battle against the Supreme Court is what gave us our free exercise clause in the First Amendment. And for those seeking to connect to Native heritage and history, I would suggest such wonderful people as Chief Tecumseh or Chief Array, who are the ancestors who fought to preserve the Ute culture. These and countless others are just as much a part of our beloved dead as our own personal ancestors and forebears. And to those parents who have held their children for far too short a time, Samhain is also yours. Honoring the dead gives us connection across boundaries of life that provide healing and support for us, the living. Death is certainly something we are all afraid of, despite the truth that it comes to us all in time. But in honoring these ancestors, perhaps we can take this time to approach death as the sacred transition that it is. This does hit especially close to home for me, as my family is now beginning the process of mourning my beloved grandfather, who passed away on Thursday afternoon. There may be tears and heaviness to this holiday, but perhaps seems to contradict the fun and excitement that we are so used to with Halloween. It's certainly one of the more exciting holidays of the year. But if you are moved enough and want to incorporate some of the magic of Samhain into your life, here are some things that you can do. Honor ancestors by placing a picture or some trinket, as we've done here today, on a table while you feast. They call this a dumb supper, or feast for the dead, and invites the memory of those you loved to come and share one more meal with you and your family. You may share poems or stories that inspire you about your ancestors. You can do this in person or on social media, if you prefer. Some, as myself, tell these stories to their children to pass on the memory of our beloved dead to the next generation. You may light a candle in memory of your beloved dead, and if you can, fire code permitting, Place this candle in a western-facing window. This direction of the west represents the sunset and direction that the deceased will travel to transition to the other worlds. The candle is to show them the way. You may honor the spirits of the land by taking time to learn their stories, sing their songs, and donate to their causes or support their voices in this modern era where far too little of them is left. Incorporate your ancestors into a Halloween costume, perhaps. Tastefully, of course. Some traits of my personal ancestors are doctor, carpenter, auto mechanic, Air Force pilot, and policeman, and all would make fantastic costumes. The recreation of some of these historical figures I've mentioned is also very much encouraged. You may carve a turnip, as I have done with this little guy down here. It's actually a lot of fun. And there's certainly less room on a turnip to carve for the big toothy grin we're all so used to. But faces can still be made on these and other vegetables. And my favorite, take a few moments to sit in the crisp autumn air with a mug of cider or perhaps coffee and observe the wisdom of the trees. Reverently admire the birch and oak or the box elder maple as they turn orange, yellow, and red, shedding their leaves and embracing the winter. Also admire the pine and the fir as they clutch eternally to their green, enduring the freezing cold until the sun warms them again in the spring. I hope that you will open your heart and let the spirits of your own beloved dead into your life this season. In this, we all can find healing, comfort, and peace for the long days of winter ahead of us. Thank you, and I wish you all a truly blessed Samhain.